What's up, everybody? Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about processing feedback and how you can form a good perspective on your own self and your own performance. So, this one is maybe particularly useful, this video, for anybody that's kind of new to performance. You're getting out there, people are telling you different things after you perform, and you're not sure who to take seriously, or you're not sure, what feedback you should listen to. You're not sure how you should process either good or bad sort of reviews of what you did. And then also, I think anybody that's been at it for a little longer, maybe this will be interesting for you too, just to hear and think about how another artist, another working musician processes feedback, and what my experience has been like in sort of developing my ability to understand, what I'm doing and how other people experience it. I think where I would want to start is that first and foremost, the most important thing is just that you keep going. And on some level, I would preface this entire video by saying that people's feedback on some level doesn't matter that much. Because at the end of the day, you know what work you're putting in, and it basically comes down to that. How hard are you working to better yourself, to practice, to better your skills on your instrument, on your voice, on the songs, the library of songs that you play, your song selection or your mastery of those songs, and then also just your presence on stage and your how you engage people and your personality, and all these things are things that can be worked on. And so the most important thing is, what kind of work are you putting in? If you know that you're putting in as much work as you can possibly put in, then you don't really have to worry that much about people's feedback, in my opinion, because what else can you do? Now, there may be some people that are very experienced that would be able to give you good ideas that you might not come up with on your own, so that's really useful. But I would say that most of the feedback that you're going to get, whether it's, wow, you're so good, you should go try out for American Idol, or you have no soul, which was a tough one for me. I still remember it. But most of the feedback that you get, it's not that it has no merit whatsoever. It's just that it's one person's experience. And it's one person's experience on one day. And you have to take it with that understanding, that that's all it is. It's not some defining, statement of who you are and what your future will be or anything like that. It's a water drop in the ocean of what you will get, all the feedback that you get. And also, I would say, just because somebody comes up and says something to you, that's one form of feedback. But another form of feedback is just if you look around the room and you see people's toes tapping when you're playing. That's a feedback. And you can see that somebody's enjoying what you're doing, at least to the point that they're tapping their foot, which I would not underestimate that. To me, if you got somebody tapping your foot, you won on some level. You're in, they approve enough to tap their foot. Any display of positive connection to what you're doing is a win, is a success. That is feedback. And so that's positive feedback. Look for that. Maybe somebody comes up and says something that's kind of destructive to you, but you may have also noticed that there were a number of people that were tapping their feet or humming lyrics, singing some lyrics to their friends if they were familiar with the song. All that is positive feedback. And so just think, when you're processing different feedback, I'm trying to think of a good example of some. Maybe there's not a lot more that I have to say on it other than that. I just think you need to pay attention to your audience, because if you're really just up there for yourself, then you might as well just stay in your room, in my opinion. It's like the reason that you're performing on a stage is because you're there to serve the audience. So you need to be observant and listen to them and try to do things that make a difference for them. That's ultimately what you're there for. And if you're not, then you could just enjoy it in your room. There's no reason to, if you're out there because you're like, look at me, I'm on the stage, I'm the most important person. That's not what it's about. So, you will struggle. You will struggle if you think that's what it's about. It will be a learning process that may take you a while. So, I think that's kind of all I have to say. Like, I just think processing feedback is something that I think everyone has to deal with. So, for example, if somebody comes and tells you, here's a good example. If somebody comes and tells you the music's too loud, sometimes what that might mean, and people may have different opinions on this, but sometimes what that might mean is your voice isn't warmed up yet. And it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the volume. It has to do with the quality. People don't necessarily know exactly what is the correct feedback to give you. They just know whether they like it or not. Some people will be able to give you better, more correct or specific, direct, good feedback that's usable. And others don't know enough to really give you what you need to know. And so I've been in some situations where I feel like if I listened to that feedback and I turned the volume down, I would have been doing myself a disservice. I would have been doing everyone a disservice because I wouldn't have been able to impact the room. And really, I just needed a song or 2 songs or 3 songs to kind of warm up and loosen up, where I start to overall make better sounds, and then the volume level is going to be totally fine. And as the rest of the chatter and whatnot rose, my volume level was going to be perfectly fine. And other times you need to listen to it and understand these people want a certain kind of experience, and they can already see that you're going to be pushing a different kind of experience that's not the right fit for what they're looking for. So that's a way to process feedback and just kind of listen and be observant and thoughtful and try to do the right thing. I think if anybody has any questions about feedback, if anybody said something to you and you want to know how I might think of that feedback or how I would suggest you to think of it, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to answer. I think that's it. I think just don't take feedback too seriously. Focus on yourself. Try to do the best job that you can. You can listen to what people have to say. It usually is an indication of something. Sometimes it is an indication of an area that you could improve. Maybe there's something in there where you could. Sometimes it's just somebody having a bad day. For example, here's one other example, and I'm pushing on 9 minutes, and I want to keep this one short, but I was playing a Halloween party one time, and I played for an hour and a half, and I played high energy stuff for an hour and a half, and then I needed sort of a break just in terms of the energy. And so I switched to classical piano for a few songs just to give a little change. And I played some like Chopin Waltz in C-sharp minor. If you've never heard of it, go listen to it. And you might see it. I think that song is a pretty cool song to play at a Halloween event. And it's a beautiful song. So like I said, I played an hour and a half of higher energy covers that people know and recognize. And then I switched to this classical piano piece that I do really, really well. And I had a musician come up to me. I didn't know he was a musician at first, but he told me he was in the middle of talking. But somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, let's go, let's pick it up, let's get the energy up," or something like that. It's like, man, I've been playing an hour and a half at this level or at this energy level, and I'm just taking a break for like 5 minutes, man. Just taking the pedal off for 5 minutes, and then boom, this guy's there, and he's telling me, what I should do, and it's like, all right, it's one feedback. He's one person in the group. He maybe is an indication of the overall group, which is what's more important, is not just one person, but the overall group, what their experience is. Maybe there's a bunch of other people in the group that are really happy for the break in energy. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes you are pushing the high energy for too long and beating people over the head, and they just want to breathe and chill out. So this guy clearly didn't, or just all of a sudden he tapped into it, and something about what I was doing he didn't like, and he came to express that. I didn't think it was appropriate at all. Maybe I didn't handle it right, but I just thought, especially given that he's a musician, he should be more understanding and more relaxed about his expectations. And so I kind of communicated that, I think, in a reasonable way. And then as soon as he left, a woman came up and was there complimenting the music, the piano, and saying how beautiful it was, and she thought it was a recording and whatnot. And so you don't know, you just kind of got to look around and see. And okay, this is the last thing I'll leave you all with. One of the best ways that I know for understanding if the music is connecting with people is overall, how's the energy level of the event? And I do that with my ears. I listen for how people are talking. Are people enthusiastic? Are they happy? Are they energized? And if they're not, I view that as, especially as background music or as music that's supporting an event, I view that as, that's my fundamental job, is to try to get people to be happy and excited and positive and energized. My job is to energize the event, is to push good energy into the event that then helps other people to loosen up and spread it. And you have audiences that make that job a lot easier, and you have audiences that make it a lot harder. But I think that's the fundamental job. And if it's an audience that's a lot harder, you can just kind of gauge that by what the energy level is like when you start. Listen to how people are talking when they enter in the room. And I look for any opportunity to sort of piggyback on energy swells that occur for any reason. Any positive energy in the environment is a great reason to get more excited and bring the energy of your music and your performance up a little bit. If you come in out of the gates and people are in a low energy level, and you come out of the gates just boom with a whole bunch of like happiness or positivity and high energy, it can just smack them in the face and they won't want it and they'll reject it. But if you amp it up by 5 decibels in terms of your energy level, when so-and-so's friend enters the room and they go, oh, hey, and you ride that swell like a wave, man, and you ride it and then allow it to raise your energy level and the overall energy level, and just try to keep getting that energy level higher. That helps exciting everyone else, and they're like, oh, other people are happy. Maybe it's okay to be happy. Maybe it's okay to be positive. And that spreads. That's the way I think of it, and that's the way I do it. And I guess that's a little different than the topic that I brought up, or the way I've titled this talk, but I think it all is relative, because the energy is kind of the feedback. And so at the end of an event, or at some point during an event, you should be able to get that energy to a good level. And that's what I would look at more than anything. Were you able to elevate the energy of the room? Were you able to positively impact the room? You're going to get a different room every single time, with a completely unpredictable mix of people and attitudes and experiences and personalities. And your job is to take all that on and make it better, and make sure that what you do helps to improve as much as you can. And so every different person, whether they're positive or negative or whatever, hopefully what you do in relation to them improves their experience. So I just don't worry too much about where any particular person is emotionally or spiritually. I want to raise the energy. And part of that is with my own energy. If there's somebody that's really, really negative, I'm not going to dwell on them very much. If I can, what I've found here, this is the last thing I could leave you with. I think I already said that, but sometimes you might have somebody that's really negative in your audience. And as an empathic person, maybe you want them to not feel that way. And you feel like, what I do should help them, But I found that maybe the better strategy in helping that person is to not worry about them and focus on other people that are more ready to connect with you and more ready to be positive. Because if you connect with those people and you start having a good time and they're enjoying you and they're displaying publicly that they're enjoying you, my guess is it's a matter of time before you're going to look back over and see that person that was so negative, and they're going to be in a different state. And then they're going to start demonstrating that back to you. And because they're going to take their cues from other people as well. And if everyone else in the party starts having a good time, they're not going to want to be the only person not having a good time, because they're going to look like the Grinch. And and not to mention, it just improves the whole experience for everyone, and their experience is improved. And so they'll naturally be in a better emotional space as well. So that's kind of like a twofold dive into processing feedback. I guess looking at it from overall your feedback as it relates to your future and overall who you are. I just wouldn't worry about that too much. If there's something of value you can take from a comment, you can think about it, but don't take it too seriously. The truth is, in 3 to 4 years, you're going to be an entirely different musician, and it really all just has to do with what's the work you put in over those 3 to 4 years. It's not going to have anything to do with what anybody said. So that's the best advice that I can give you. And when you realize that, it actually is pretty freeing. It's pretty liberating, because you just don't have to worry about what people are going to say. You don't have to worry about that kind of stuff, because it's you put it in the proper perspective of what it is. Every once in a while, you might meet somebody that really has some good value to give you, and they mean you well. And I think that's the other thing when you're processing feedback from people. Overall, you want to look for, do these people, whoever's giving feedback, what's their disposition towards you? Do they really want what's best for you? Do they want good things for you? Because if you get the sense that they don't, then you don't really have to worry about much of what they're saying, because probably most of it's designed just to hurt you. But if you get the sense that these people genuinely care about you, and you'll know that within yourself, you don't need to believe just because somebody's coming up and being all positive, that doesn't mean that they necessarily want positive things for you. They may just want attention for themselves, or feel like they have value to give, or something like that. So there are people maybe that you will come across that are more composed. You can tell they're speaking from experience. You can see more of a humility in how they speak. And for those people, they might have some good things to say that you could listen to and benefit from. All right, guys, thanks for listening to the video. I hope this helped you. If it did, let me know in the comments. Give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out.